Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is my true partner, Anthony. This is a judo podcast for judo players by two judo players. So, Anthony, how are you doing today?
Good. I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu again. I went back to my club last week and started training. I was getting wrecked, but it feels good. Yeah, it feels good taking a long break and going back. And the cardio sucks. Also, it feels like my knee's still not 100%. So it feels like I'm grappling without a leg. I don't know how else to explain that. But it feels like I don't have a leg on that side. So
you're putting the grinding is not too much on that knee then?
It is. But I have to be careful because everyone's like, oh, you're back, your surgery. Like, I'll be careful. I'm like, don't worry about me. It's not about what you do. It's about what I can't do. Like, I can't knee shield on that side, for example. So if you pass my guard on my right side, you're just going to pass my guard. I'm not going to be able to do knee shield or like guard.
So if anyone from his jiu-jitsu class, you know what side to pass him now on, okay? You know what his weak side is.
Yeah. I can't knee shield. I can't sit in Seiza. So, effectively
you still can't sit in Seiza. Really?
No, I cannot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I know the other thing you're talking about. What?
Oh, speaking of which, I know back then we were talking about how I continue to pay my jiu-jitsu club membership in a few episodes back. So the slight correction, it was still true when we made that episode, but apparently I forgot that my credit card information got stolen. So I had to get a new card.
Okay.
So the auto payment stopped in last August. So I paid up until last August. So just a slight correction on I don't want to be like,
you're trying to get that sympathy.
I paid all this time, but
trying to get that sympathy. Like, oh, Anthony's a good guy. He pays for jiu-jitsu. You know, he doesn't go at all. Oh my God. I didn't know your credit card got stolen. That sucks.
It happens when you buy stuff online. That's why you should always check your credit card statement. If you don't use credit cards often, always check your credit card statements. Make sure you make those purchases.
The lesson for you kids out there.
I got someone. Someone tried to book a hotel or something in Chicago. I didn't go to Chicago. So just make sure you check your credit card statement. So now I paid up till August. So I didn't pay the full year. I paid 8 months. So Yeah, well, it's funny. I actually got invited back to go to my catch wrestling class. Like, hey, we're doing catch wrestling again and doing normal stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. Are you guys, it's been kind of a weird question. Are you guys wearing masks at all? No mask. I'm just like, this tiny room with no mask on. I know I'm vaccinated, but I'm just not ready yet. I don't think I'm ready. Like, I can do judo with a mask on, uchikomis, throw people, a little bit of tachiwas and stuff, but catch no mask, especially when someone's trying to cross face me. It's like, I don't know. I want your dirty hand in my face right now. Yep. But we're looking at reopening this month, I guess. So hopefully things will continue to go on this positive trend for everyone. Are
you talking about our dojo or your jiu-jitsu club?
In general. No, in general, I'm just saying how I'm going back to training. Our dojo's reopening. Numbers are dropping. Vaccination rates going up. Like all that stuff. Like, let's hopefully keep that going. Yeah.
Yes, try to keep the vaccination numbers going up. Please get vaccinated if you can. I know some people don't want to. But it's just something that you're helping out other people. You're helping out me. You're helping out you. You're helping people around you. Please do. You don't have to. Yeah. I do understand that, but please do.
Yeah, there are some people that like. Yeah, never mind. I don't want to go into talk about vaccines. So yeah, let's just go ahead.
No. That's a little PSA there. Please do it. I know if you don't want to, you don't have to, but please do. I appreciate it. Juan appreciates it. Anthony appreciates it. So let's talk about what today's episode is going to be about. Today we have a very interesting interview with Mike Verdugo and Talbert Lee, and they create a judo program to help out the police. Taybren. What did I say? Taybren Lee to help create a judo program for the police, and they call it USA Judo P3. And did you know anything about this, Anthony, before we get into the interview?
Well, yeah. like one thing to note, I've read about for the last 2 to 3 years, actually, I've read about attempts at creating a judo police program. And I found out that I actually confused some of these programs with the one that we're talking about for this episode. Okay. So for those of you out there, just make sure you're thinking about and reading about the right one. Because I was thinking about a USJF or a USJA one. And according to Taybren, he talked about it, or Mike said that they teach striking and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I don't know about those other programs, but we're talking purely about this program developed by Taybren Lee, by Verdugo for USA Judo.
Yes.
So just to clarify.
P3, that's what they call it. So without any further ado, let's get to the interview. Hello, everybody. My name is Juan. This is Anthony. We're here again to Tatami Talk. We have two great guests today with us. We have Mike Verdugo and Taybren Lee. They're here to talk about a program that they developed during the pandemic period, which is called USA Judo P3. So could each of you talk about how you guys got into the martial arts, how you guys picked judo, and just tell the audience a little about yourself. Let's go with Taybren. Let's start with you.
Long time ago. No.
In a galaxy far away.
Far away, man. No humans at all, just mushroom people and things like that. Well, like every kid, watching Karate Kid, Bruce Lee movies and things like that in the 80s, my interest sparked. So started practicing with karate, then in junior high, which I'm dating myself because that's what it was called then. It wasn't middle school. I came into wrestling and then wrestled from junior high all the way to high school, still doing karate and stuff. Then I found this thing called jiu-jitsu that was taught by a Brazilian guy named Fabiano Iha. Started with that. Then later on, because of the politics, I got introduced to judo. Then fell back in love doing BJJ, kind of say I got to go back and get my black belt in that since I started with that prior to, because I already had my judo black belt. And I was in the military, so I always trained. That's the sum of it, without boring you guys to death with all the details of the politics. But we'll talk more about that on the show, but that's pretty much it. And I've been doing that for 30 years. So do the math, guys. And like I said, like we were talking before, things are going to get off topic, but that's pretty much the gist of it. I was never a ninja. I didn't learn how to throw stars or disappear up into the trees and stuff like that. I know a lot of people. So you're telling me you were not in American Ninja Part 2? No, but I love the movie, man. Hey, Steve James, I thought it was going to be him, they didn't teach that style in the Army, but I was hoping that they did. And yeah, so in a nutshell, martial arts is a great thing, but it's not magical like those movies of the 80s made it. And so that's kind of how we birthed P3 with the reality, because people think, you could throw a knife and I can catch it and all that stuff. And I wish, man, it's just not that cool.
They didn't like that.
No, I mean, unfortunately, you break toes just teaching a 5-year-old how to do a simple sweep.
That does happen sometimes. It does happen.
Isn't that the sad reality? Yeah.
You do the most simplest thing. You're spraying your toe like, when did this happen? Oh my God.
So I want to start with reality because we're going to talk a lot about reality martial arts. So I didn't paint it all. Yeah. We got to keep it realistic.
All right. So Mike, how did you get into the martial arts and how'd you end up doing judo out of everything?
On YouTube, I just noticed some stuff on YouTube. Yeah, that's all.
Watching highlight videos.
Yeah, that was it. And, after 5 minutes of that, I'm good. And so, I started off when I was a kid, we were boxing, did Golden Gloves, and then we rounded it out with wrestling. And that was something we really liked to do. And as I got through, and that was about elementary school, got into middle school, I became got involved with a wrestling club over at East LA College, and we did a lot of freestyle. Mm-hmm. There was also a judo program going on there at night. So watched that a little bit, and some of the same guys were going up to Cal State LA, so I hung out with them, and then I'm wrestling basically with pajamas. I really enjoyed that. And right about high school, more wrestling, did international stuff with USA Wrestling. Back then it was AAU and USJF. And you fast forward, then USA came to be as the national governing body. And it sort of reminds me of what happened here with judo, where, we got 3 national governing bodies, but there's only really one. And we need to, go to that eventually. Same thing with wrestling. Anyway, so with wrestling, got to the point where I was traveling a lot internationally, more exposure to judo as I would travel out of the U.S., especially to some of the Pacific Rim countries, and just really liked it. Actually cross-trained with it when I was going through a couple of Olympic cycles for wrestling with USA. I actually just cross-trained with judo, and my home dojo was Tenri right here in LA. So good place to go at the time, early 80s, because we had a lot of the national guys there, and Olympic team would come here and practice. And we had some national champs right there in the dojo as well. And it was something that my wrestling coach took me into. He was actually somebody who did both, and he also did hand-to-hand training for special forces. So I had a good guy leading me along. And then with my wrestling and judo, I actually got to travel around the world. And then I spent time in Russia, studied Sambo, actually, and before the curtain was raised, I had to go through Canada and then in to be able to study in Russia.
Did you have to hide in a car when you did that, or did you have to?
No, I went through. It's kind of sort of. We went through a program that had started with the Canadian government in Russia for studying abroad. And I had to go to Concordia University just to be able to get into this program in Russia. But I went. Found out there was such a thing because I wanted to go there and learn from the absolute best, which they were, because they had their whole Olympic program that had been going for many, many years, and it was institutionalized. So I went there to study. And then when I had a chance to go back and visit friends in Japan, went back there and studied and lived there for a bit. Would study at the Kodokan, help and teach at the college with both the wrestling team and the judo team as well. So had a lot of international experience there, and then came back and putzed around with my wrestling and judo. And I was also a high school wrestling coach for about 25 years and coached at East LA College, also coached at other universities as well, and was the director for cultural exchange for USA Wrestling. I was also coaching women's national freestyle team because I produced a 3 times women's national champion at the open division back when she was still in high school. So I was able to, keep going with that. And I sort of melded it all into, what it is I do now. I teach a type of judo, more realistic based, and as well as knowing and understanding all the Kodokan stuff and the whole Gokyu, I still like to teach competition stuff. And that led me later on to my own gym, and we closed it down recently because of COVID, but we're actually meeting up again. Yeah, I had to go legal because it's my own business, and we just have to be safe and sound. I'm not going to try to hide behind paper and windows. We're going to do it the right way, especially since we're involved with this whole USA thing at the highest level. We're not going to screw around. So
that's a big thing right now. You used to have I call them speakeasy gyms and stuff that paper up the windows and have like you can only know somebody to know somebody to get inside and stuff. But it's good that you did it legit. And it is sad that you had to close down for a while. I know a lot of gyms that had to do that. I know there was a big number that I know Nanka itself, I heard, lost almost more than half their gym, not Judokan memberships during this pandemic. And it's sad. I hope at least a third of them come back, but I know not everyone's going to come back. It's tough.
Okay.
Well, it's not just, what's going on locally. I mean, even with USA Judo, we lost half of our members. And they're going to come back slowly. Just from what happened last weekend, though, when we were up in Utah, it was a good sign. We saw a tremendous amount of people there. Everyone is excited again about getting on the mat. They don't mind having to go through some of the safety protocols, which is kind of a pain to go through. But you know what? It made for a very safe event. We had, a few thousand people there in the stands, and it was over 400 competitors. It was a well-run show, and thanks to Corinne, she ran a good tournament, and Keith Bryant, who made sure that we maintain all the protocols for safety, and it went smooth. It went great. So it's going to be okay going forward, and our numbers will go back up again. So I'm not too worried. And as far as California, sure, we're going to be one of the last to open, but we're going to be safer. And the best thing about it is for those that are running dojos privately, we're going to find better rates on commercial space for sure. With the whole real estate, nobody's wanting commercial space, so we're going to go back down. And those programs that were in cultural centers, hey, they had to shut down, they had to do whatever they needed to do. But and I used to have my program in a cultural center as well, but I like dictating my own time and place and what I want to do there. I don't want somebody on a board to tell me you can't practice today. We're going to have a flower arranging class or something. So, yeah.
That's good. Very good point about the commercial space. I was jokingly in the past saying how I want to open like a open mat dojo by the beach, kind of like Muscle Beach, where people just come in and grapple.
He wants to make Judo Beach or Grapplers Beach or
Judo
something.
Beach to promote judo,
now.
right? Like, yeah, it's available, right? So maybe we should ask them how much it's going to cost and chip in.
So we've done that. We've taken we've had dojo trips and parties at the beach. We take gi tops with us and have a good time. It's a blast.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the topic at hand, what we're actually here for. So you gentlemen developed a program to work with the police department, and it was called USA Judo P3. So what is this program? What's the goal of it? And what are you guys doing with it? How are you putting it out there?
All right, Taybren, you want to go first or I'll go?
I'll start it off.
All right.
So it's not with just the police departments, but it's with all the police agencies throughout the United States. Hopefully, if we're lucky, all 18,000 will take up on this program. It's a great program. It was developed by officers for officers. One thing I try and educate citizens on is that the level of training most people think officers have, it's not true. Generally speaking, most agencies send you through a 4-month academy. And there's a lot of, there's like, let's say 60 checkbox marks they got to match, from firearms, driving, narcotics, community relations. There's so many things. And when it comes to arrest and control defensive tactics, because those are the terms used for most agencies, same stuff, different name. Basically, I call it the art of handcuffing. You get maybe between, in an academy, that's that 4 months to maybe 6 months, you get between 40 to maybe 80 hours, depending on some places, in that time period. And it's a good start, but what happens is there's not much follow-up training. So imagine this, you train judo up into brown belt, and that takes you 1.5 to 2 years, right? After that, you just stop. You do no follow-up training. What do you think is going to happen?
You're going to forget it. Just like people who came back from post-COVID, they don't remember the names of the throws or how to do a proper turnaround step.
Everything exactly. Rusty. That's what happens.
Yeah, perishable skills, right? So being that it's required material to be covered during your initial training, the requirement for the follow-up is sad, because with most places we come to find out your follow-up arrest and control training every 2 years may be 4 hours worth of training from that initial either 40 to 80. And so being that it's not required, a lot of guys, their hobby is not putting on pajamas and going to sweat with other adults. So if your hobby is swimming, golfing, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to do that. You're not going to do this, which will enhance your ability to perform as a professional that you are. So we don't blame officers. It is what it is. And being that we're solutions based, we looked at that and said, well, let's develop something where they can get back to the basics, improve upon those basics, which they don't know, and provide follow-up training. And so the main thing that's different from ours, from other programs that are out there, is the follow-up training. We've really simplified with our micro training portion of it, where you can take this back And let's say most officers work a 10-hour shift in the nation. Okay. So that comes out, I did the math and I forgot it. It comes out to like 140 working days or something. But anyway, if you do the math, if you just train 15 minutes on that shift, you're going to have 48 additional hours of training. If you do 10, you'll have 32. If you do a minimum of 5 minutes of this follow-up training, that's 16 hours per year. That's far more than the 4 hours every 2 years that officers are currently receiving.
So my first question to that is that, do you think that's enough? Like that seems like some is better than nothing, right? But 16 hours, like, to some people that they might be like, they're better off like doing something else with that time, like maybe training, like wrestling, because or train, focus on another aspect of it, right? So why judo, I guess, is the first question I have.
Well, why P3? So, and let me answer what you were just saying. So I love what you just said, because you said, well, they can go train this. Yeah, they could. But are they going to train that if they're not into it? Keep in mind, if I go train wrestling, BJJ, judo, whatever, any supplemental training that I pay for, I have to want to do that. That's the problem.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Like I said earlier, it's not required. You're only required to do that 4 hours worth of training, the perishable skills training, every 2 years or whatnot, whatever it is. And it's different for every agency. You got to keep this in mind. We live in California. The rules in California are different from my neighboring states of Arizona, Nevada, and Oregon.
The use of force.
No, not even that. Just your department policies and your state. Okay. Remember, each state has their own police officer standards and training. Those are different in each state.
Yes, that's why you're not. So you're saying, just to clarify, you're not talking about the use of force policies for the department. You're talking about just the training standards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where it's so hard and such a touchy topic with a lot of people, because the average person don't even know the hierarchy of how the police agencies work. Mm-hmm. Like, it generally goes state, county, municipality. Yeah. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, your average person doesn't. Yeah, I'm aware. I'm just know a lot of people aren't even sure what the difference between the sheriff and the LAPD is, right? So
exactly. Yep. So when you look at problem solving, you got to look at all of that. And here's the thing: we're not arrogant. We're not saying what we come up with is the over solution for everything, but it's a start, you know. Mm-hmm. And those that can take up on it, they're getting ahead of the game. You know, you got to sometimes not just be reactive, but you got to be proactive. And this is a proactive approach. You know, yes, in a perfect world, there'd be some legislation created where it's mandatory, but that's not going to happen overnight. And one big thing you got to think about, which I haven't got to yet, is when it comes to training, you got to think of injury. Take it away from police. Let's look at Home Depot. Okay, for example, it's a company, it's $1 billion company, right? There's Home Depots all throughout the United States. They have various shifts. Let's say they got a morning shift, a midday shift, and then the evening shift. If someone on shift calls in, what happens?
Calls in sick, you mean? Or
calls in sick. Yeah, calls in sick. If any job, what happens?
They have to find someone to fill
most
that
of the time
spot.
they'll try to replace you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And can they always find someone?
Depends on your job, I guess.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, you can't, because if I schedule, let's say I got 10 people for a shift, right? Mm-hmm. I need those. That's my minimum. If, you know, Juan, you work on a shift, you broke your leg, you're out for a while, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that causes a problem. And this is just Home Depot I'm talking about. But I'm using that example because that's how it works with every company. And we have to look at it like every other company. We got to stop thinking of police as this special thing. It's a business like anything else. And the same rules apply. So when you think about training, well, if someone gets injured and they're out, well, that affects what's called deployment. Okay. Mm-hmm. That means basically if my bare minimum is I got to have 10 officers per watch. Now I got 9. Well, that poses a problem. And so when you're developing training, you want to address that. Just like if you worked at Home Depot, if you work in the paint department and we're trying to get in some new paint and you're going to get trained up on it, just how to stir, mix, and change the colors. Well, you wouldn't think there's injury involved. And if people start getting injured every time they got sent to color change school for paint, That'd be a problem, right?
Yeah. What kind of pain you guys making here?
Exactly.
I'm glad you brought that up because we actually had a few police officers come in through, and not just police officers. I've trained with fire emergency personnel. They've been like, I'm afraid of injuries. Like if I'm injured, I can't go to work, right? I can't do my job and pay the bills. And even if it's not injury, sometimes they talk about being sore, right? Because it's a physically demanding job. Like being a cop is hard. So how does the program address also fatigue? And
I'll speak to this. I'll speak to this. So first off, the skills that we're trying to get across are making sure that they absorb are not super complicated. Okay. And we've also taken into mind, because this is something actually Taybren and I have been working on for a number of years. It's not just during COVID we decided to put it out. We started probably looking at this almost 5 years ago, Taybren? Yeah, something like that. We would get together on weekends, we'd roll around, we would talk about this and that. And, we just noticed a decline in skills all the way across the board. I used to go and help out at the police academy up in Legion Park back in the 80s. And I was invited up there by Chief Gates at the time. And we started helping out groups with tactics, training, and also kind of getting them ready for, it was early on then, but a police and fire Olympics that was just coming around. And it was a good time. We had a good time teaching, but I noticed that the type of student or the type of recruit that was going through then is completely different from what's out there now. We now have, and I'm sure Taybren will speak to this, we now have a force that's, that maybe has officers in there that have never done anything physical in their lives, nothing. And now we're going to have to teach these people what to do and how to feel confident with these techniques that we're teaching. So they're not overcomplicated. And having thousands of people that I've coached over the years and thousands of hours, we've been able to sort of refine and get everything down to a cliff noted stage to where we know they can absorb this. And by being able to absorb what it is that we're trying to teach, we're now going to have to turn it into some quick Huchikumi type drills, real quick drills. So the drills and the continued training that we're having the officers take with them as they leave our course is they're going to have the ability to do what's called micro training. And we'll speak more to this in a little bit, but the micro training allows you to continue your practice. And these practices can happen at roll call, for instance, and it'll be a real easy thing. You quickly do these drills. It's like getting warmed up on the edge of the mat before you get out there and do your match. Okay. So it's a quick way of warming up. Now, we as competitors do a little differently. You might, go through mental visualization. You might do a little bit of jumping rope in the corner. You're stretching. You're kind of getting your head into the game. And it's the same thing we're doing with these drills. We're going to get you to hit them real quick at roll call. You're still standing up. Nobody has to get down. You can do it with all your gear on, and you hit them really quick. Now you get in the patrol car and you go. So you come into a situation out in the field. You're not going to feel cold. You're not going to feel like you don't know how to approach this person, and you won't have a problem. And it's not having a problem that keeps the officer calm. When the officer's calm, he's wide open. He's more visual. He's able to understand. He can de-escalate a situation because he has the confidence he needs. This is what we're doing that's completely different. We care that you take what it is that we're teaching back to where you practice and back to a roll call situation, or maybe just your partner. Maybe you're in a small apartment. I mean, we're teaching people up out of Wyoming that there's only 4 people on patrol in the whole state at any one time. So where's your backup? Your backup might be an hour away. Mm-hmm. You better know how to stay calm. So that's what we're teaching that's completely different. And it's a different approach because it's not a warrior mentality. It's a thinker's mentality.
Mm-hmm. I like how you say that about making them calm, because I feel like if you're confident, you can assess the situation better. And to go with happening in news a lot right now, you always hear about a police situation. It's always the officer was nervous, the officer was scared. And I think, and like you said, they're not the same mentality of what you used to see to what you see now. I think building their confidence so they can think in a high pressure situation would help them out. And if judo can help them, I think it'd be great.
Sure. I mean, noticed it. People that are calm, cool, and collective, they're dangerous on the mat when you're competing against them. Because they got a lot of tricks up their sleeve.
That's true across all martial arts.
Yeah, they're just waiting for you to set yourself up, and then they're going to capitalize on that mistake. Mm-hmm. That's a chess playing approach to whatever discipline you're in, but that's the same approach that we're using with any of this law enforcement stuff. And it's that judo approach is what we're teaching these officers.
Okay. And now you talked about techniques, that little short things they can do. What are some of the techniques that you have them do? Like, is it just uchikomi while they're wearing their full uniform, like Ippon Nagi or Koshiguruma?
Okay, so all right.
I'll take this one.
Yeah, all right, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's not a big curriculum. I mean, let's be honest. Let's just break down judo. All right, Juan and Anthony. If you were to just sum up judo into, I don't know, maybe 4 parts, what are the 4 parts?
Randori, kata, ukemi.
Okay. What about for you, Juan?
Oh, for me, I think about judo like throws. So you go like ashiwazas, hip throws, arm throws, and body throws.
Okay. You know? So that's great, but that's very complicated the way you guys just did it. Judo is, I'm trying to throw somebody down, pin them and control them, right?
Okay.
So other stuff is more broad, right? But if we really look at it, and I want to simplify it, I'm going to take you down, control you. Right. So when you got to break down the nomenclature of things like that. OK, for officers, what are they trying to do? They're trying to control a situation the minute they get on scene and ultimately trying to handcuff someone. So we use the principles of judo. You know, that's what the kata, the randori, all that's to make it where when you have to use that, you can apply that in a confident manner. Because remember, confidence equals competence. So our curriculum, when we create it, it's based upon what most people get in an academy with the principles of judo. So we're not teaching Seo Nagis because, let's be honest, how do you think a Seo Nagi would look in today's era on camera? Somebody just drops somebody with a Seo Nagi. That might not be the best camera-friendly move to use, right?
Okay, I got you.
So
it will definitely go viral. That's for sure.
It would not be in the benefit of any agency. You know, so using more controlled techniques, like the biggest throw we have is really Osotogari. And the way we teach that is with a duty of care. You know, you're cupping the back of the person's head because ultimately as an officer, all you're trying to do is get this person in cup. And, you know, let me scale it back because we're going into waters that I hate. We're talking worst case scenario already. There's so much before this, you know, and that's another thing. Part of your judo with your confidence. What if I never even get to the part where I'm taking someone down? We teach a lot of that. Okay. You're from the approach before we even get into all the throws and stuff. We cover that, but we go over scenarios and we give scenarios based on you might not throw the guy. You might not even handcuff this guy, but how do you handle this situation confidently? You know, how do you assess this situation? Right. It's just like we've all competed. You're staring that guy down, or maybe not staring at him, but looking at who's your competition. You're looking, is this guy about my size? Is he about my age? Is he in my division? You know, while you're doing that, what are you doing? You're mentally preparing yourself for what might happen out there on a mat. Same thing when I respond to a call. All these things apply, and that's all judo still. Judo is more than just on the mat and high yielding throws that meet a highlight reel. You know, that's the problem that we've done in judo. We've looked at it where it's solely the competition. No, man, what you practice in that dojo should help you in your overall life and relationships, promotions on the job. There's so much. And that's part of what we do with this course. We really take the most beneficial things because we're all going to be old gray men one day. And we're going to be that sensei with our candy can belts in the wheelchair coaching. But why would we do that? Because of our mind. I know, Mike, you're just around the corner.
Don't you have one of those candy cane belts? Mike, don't you got one of those?
I got a new hip now, so hey, I'm good.
You see what I'm saying? So all of that is part of it.
Now, I'm going to add to what it is that Taybren's talking about here. Okay, so along with this whole different approach, the different approach comes with one huge part that's completely different. It's communicating. And this communication component is the biggest part of what it is that we're teaching, because we're having officers learn to communicate more effectively and at a very calm level. And that's something that it's hardly ever taught. And you can discuss it and talk about it, but no, we insist that communication is happening during any and all of what it is that we're teaching you. And we're making sure that it happens to the point where you can actually, with your communication, assess the situation. So as Taybren was talking about how, you're at a tournament and you're kind of sizing up somebody in your bracket over here because you're trying to figure them out before you have to get on the mat with them. And it's the same sort of skill that we're using and we're teaching with the officers, that they're doing the same thing. They're scanning their head. There's like digital things going on, like in Terminator in the head. And you have to know that that's going on and be aware of that analysis process. And that's a component that is, like I said, is huge with what it is we're doing. And that's going to make better officers. That's going to make more efficient officers and calmer people, calmer officers. And he's right. We'll give scenarios and situations where you either need to put hands on this person to try to take them into and put them into cuffs, or you don't touch them at all, but you have to assess with communication. And that's probably the biggest part that's most different in what it is that we're teaching compared to any other course. We're making sure that the communication part and also the takeaway of continuing practice is what's going to set our program differently apart than any of them that are out there, pretty much.
Okay. You talk about.
Go ahead. Sorry, Juan. Yeah. How did you? I like what you guys talked about in terms of the communication and being aware and doing all the calculations in your head before the situation arises. But how did you come up with that? Because I know you guys probably worked with a panel of people to come up with the whole curriculum.
All right. So let's talk about panels. All right, let's talk about that. First off, you want to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with a panel, if you decide you're going to have a panel at all, that understand and see it the way you do and have had the amount of time out in the field or had the amount of time coaching or teaching to the point where you're effective. Now, locally, we even tried to bring this to like I said, Taybren and I have been working on this for a number of years. Probably about 3 years back, we decided that we were going to, get it out there and push it. And, I brought it to a bunch of the people locally down here, and without naming any black belt association. And, I was part of that group and actually on the board for a bit, but there was just no drive. All they wanted to do was, let's have a committee. Let's talk about it. Let's do this. Let's do that. You know what? We don't have all that kind of time. We got to get this thing out there. We know it's needed and we need it now. So we had to go with just pretty much doing it ourselves because we realized that they're just not at the speed we are. So we just continued on our path. And we tried to present it again and just met with a lot of, well, I don't know about that. Why don't we go this direction? No, that you guys don't get it. So what do? You go to the big boys. You go to the national governing body where they understand what needs to be. And they are the national governing body. So I'd rather have that group be associated with what it is that we're going to do because we're more along the same line of thinking. And because I've had experience dealing with national governing body, especially USA national governing body with USA Wrestling, you go to the top and you're going to be taken care of. So that's what we did. And we've had the backup that we need, and they helped us to get out there right away. And especially with COVID, we had more time to focus on it and pull the trigger and go. And it's doing great. And we love the fact that we're able to hit it nationally and not just locally.
Mm-hmm. Oh, to answer one thing, we do have a task force through USA Judo where we have a total, I want to say, of 9 people throughout the United States from, and they're all law enforcement, really seasoned in their jobs and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the answer I was looking, because so you have people to give you who are experienced in the field who's giving you feedback on the stuff that you.
Yeah, well, we needed also a group that's going to help us get it out there in the right way and understanding exactly the direction we're trying to, bring this in from. And so we did get this group together. But first Taybren and I did it alone. We got it out there and then we developed this group. We got them together. We actually had a couple of meetings at a few of the national championships and actually up at Colorado Springs. And and we realized we got a good group. Let's go. So we're out there now pushing it, and our other members are very competent. We've got chiefs and FBI people, and we just got a lot of people in this group, and they all love getting on the mat, and they still get on the mat. So
now, did these people train judo before, or was this like their first exposure to it?
The police
They're
were
all
training?
judoka. No. Are you talking about our task force or the course?
Yes, your task force.
Oh, no, they're all judokas. We have an Olympian on our task force. Okay. We have some people who are seasoned, in law enforcement and judo.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Now, to kind of piggyback on what Anthony just said right there, so how are you getting it out there to police officers and getting them into it? Is this like, are you doing seminars, or is it just all online right now?
No. So it's a course.
No.
Part of how we're getting it out there is, through platforms like yourself right now. We're trying to, so we've had our first kickoff this year, which was in Douglas, Wyoming. You could actually look it up on their website. We'll send you some information about it. But we're promoting it. That's exactly what we're doing, because we don't want to be stagnant. I mean, we have something that's going to help. And so we're trying to get it out there. I mean, it's not one of those things where, we made this and we're sitting on it. We don't want to do that. That doesn't help. We got to get it out. And that's why we're grateful for you guys allowing us to come on to even mention this. We've got on several other platforms so far as well. I don't know if you read, but we had an article from the Associated Press recently.
Yes.
So, creation is one thing, but then we got to push it out there. So here we are pushing it out, pushing it forward, and people who want to take it up. Hopefully there's city managers that are going to see this, department heads, actual sheriffs and agencies, and they're going to want to join on. I mean, we're post-certified in Wyoming. We're working on some other states, and we're just pushing it out there. I mean, I'm teaching some other agencies on the side. Can't mention them right now, but we're getting it out there. And so with the help of guys like you guys, we're gonna really kick it off.
And AP was great. They helped us, get exposure pretty much all over the world. We've been contacted by, people in different countries who are interested in having us help them kick their program off, because they've also been working on these things for many years, and they still haven't launched it, and they're like, wow, you guys got it out there. Can you come and help us now? So it looks like we might be taking some road trips, which will be kind of cool.
That kind of leads into a question I had before about how you guys built this thing. Like there's countries that have a lot of judo in their police force already, like Japan does and France does. Did you take anything from them or look at their programs and be like, okay, that works there. We want to integrate that into our stuff?
Not really. There are some directions of techniques, but we probably have more lawyers per square foot than anywhere else down here in Southern California. So, and we have, LAPD is so used to dealing with all this litigiousness that our techniques were also sort of clarified by all of that as well. There's things that we can do here that are pretty much good throughout the nation, but there's stuff in other parts of the nation we can't do here at all. And there's stuff that's being taught in other countries that we can't do that here. We can't. You're not going to put a knee on somebody. You're not going to straddle them. You're not going to, you just can't do this stuff. So what it is that we show, it came from, chewing on everything around us to come up with this refined bit of techniques here that's going to keep everybody from, the 6 o'clock news headline. Okay. And go ahead, Taybren. You got more to say on this. I know you do.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I've went to other countries for training. And like you said, a lot of this stuff, I think we look at the concept, they're doing judo. But look, this is judo, but more of a concept. I still tell guys, when you want to go learn judo, there's only one way. You got to go sign up at a dojo. Okay, our course is a 4-day, 30-hour course. You're not going to learn judo for competition. That's not the point of this. These are the concepts of judo used for effectively arresting a person, a subject, or a suspect. And it's important for people to understand that, like I said, we're not a fix all, but this is a solution to better training and follow up standardized training. Because like I explained earlier, listen, right now, people aren't getting a lot. And you got to keep this in mind. I mean, let's just take your job. What required training do you have to do on a day-to-day basis, or do you just perform the job? And as long as you perform the job and nothing happens, everything's A-okay.
Oh, for my,
I work with computers, so it's secure computer security. For me, it's like always got to take training about protecting yourself from hackers and stuff like that. So,
yeah, most people know I'm just another working actor here in LA. So, but the funny thing is that I do play cops and military and FBI all the time, and I do work a lot of time. And I was going to bring this up later, but I might bring it up now. Is that I take training seriously. That when I'm on set and they teach us how to hold the guns, how to arrest people, like I can handcuff people pretty much no problem, and I can do it on set like pretty quickly. So I take my training on set very seriously. But there are some people that just go there and walk through the motions that don't want to do anything. And this is when you guys are talking about how to get people, and I'm going to say it now. So one thing I wanted to bring up was when I do certain scenes, when I would do 1980 scenes or 70 scenes, there's donuts, cookies, sodas all over the set and stuff, because that's what cops ate back then. And I know in California, they changed up things to that. If you're an overweight cop and you can't pass a physical, you can't get promotions. That was their incentive to get cops to be more healthy. We're on sets now, it's all about like energy drinks and like, it's not super healthy stuff, but they changed that. And so you get some of these older cops that are retired on set sometimes. You're like, oh, I remember that days. We used to have donuts on set. We used to have donuts at work all the time. Do you think that to help out to promote your program, it would be an incentive that it helps out for promotions that they take this program from you guys to get people in better shape to defend themselves and scale down a situation?
Well, to answer what you just said, that's false information. Not every department agency in California has a physical fitness requirement. There are some, but that's not all. So and that's something with people, once again, we get a lot of bad information, you know? So for some agencies, yeah, like I know one that has one, but most of them, they don't, because you got to keep in mind, it's a civil service job. And so it's a lot of litigious stuff they got to go through to enforce that. Because you're talking about violating rights, and I mean, it's 2021. You got to go through the unions too, right? Not even. You got to go through the unions, but even before you even go that route, if it's something that violates how you feel, let's just say that, it can be a battle. So in the world of body positivity and all that, you get what I'm going at. You can enforce those type of things. Okay, so long as they can perform the job and they're medically clear, they're good to go. And here's another thing. Like you said, when you're on set preparing for a military role or police role, yeah, you're taking it serious because you're getting into character. But in law enforcement, let's say this. Let's say I got 5 years on the job. I've made, I don't know, about 200 arrests already in that time. And they all go well. Okay? This is what happens. Most of the time you see stuff on TV, and when you see a worst case scenario, well, all that other years, it's been going well. Most people don't resist, okay? But it's that one time when you're faced with a challenge and you're just not prepared. And then that's what you see on the 6 o'clock news. But they never tell you about, well, most of the time you got your partner or you got backup, and most people just talk. They don't really resist. So a lot of people never have these big encounters or these Donnybrooks, or if they do, there's help. You know, so if you got 5 people helping you cuff a person, well, yeah, you think, oh, yeah, good job. And you can keep believing your Jesus juice you're drinking that. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. But let's say it's that one time, you know, you got a partner, your partner's knocked out. Now it's just you versus this person, and you got to take them into custody. Well, you're going to know if you're prepared or not. Okay. But on your day to day, just, you know, the average little shoplifter, they're not really resistant to the level where you're going to have to use excessive force or a higher sense of force. You know, they might move their arm, pull away, but generally they're not really fighting unless they're running. They're just not putting up that type of resistance where you're going to have to go American Ninja Warrior on them. It just doesn't exist.
No jumping garbage cans.
Yeah. It's not the everyday. And so I think that's what happens, is that people see these things, and what they're seeing is, well, this was a person, now there's a situation, and it's beyond his training or capability. Okay. And that's when it hurts. It's like staying in shape. Okay. Let's say in your 20s, you ate like crap. And then now here you're 30, you got the dad bod or whatever. and you go to your doctor for the checkup and he say, hey man, I got to put you on these cholesterol meds. Your blood sugar's looking bad. Either you hit this gym and change your life, or, you can keep doing it. And then all of a sudden, what? You have a stroke, you have a heart attack. Well, why? You weren't prepared. Mm-hmm. So we can look at examples with a lot of things. If you don't prepare, look, you're not going to have a heart attack every day. But the reason you're going, you're getting your cardio in, you're getting your strength and conditioning training is the hope that it's an insurance that's going to help me when I need it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what I like about what you said in your programs, is about preparing people to be calm and confident when the situation occurs. Because like you said, it's not going to happen every day. Every day you're not going to have a crazy situation. But when it does happen, you don't want to be a chicken with his head cut off. You don't want to be not ready, not prepared.
And that's what I've learned, because there isn't a lot of follow-up packages to training. What happens is unfortunately, we do checkbox training in a lot of government agencies. We just do, it's like, okay, I went to this training. Yeah, but what follow-up? Because like Anthony, you just mentioned, you're in cybersecurity, so you're doing training all the time because things change rapidly, right? Yep. Well, the suspects have changed.
With the government too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Trust me, I know. I did a bunch of CBT training when I was in the military, okay? That's all you do. Yeah. You do it for good reason. But even that training, if I break it down, a lot of it's checkbox. There's some areas where you really need the training that you, depending on the level of skill you want to develop, you might have to go outside of the training provided by your company. And that is what arrest and control training is in law enforcement. If you want to be good, you're going to have to invest in this. It's kind of like, okay, I need public speaking. Well, even if your job paid for you to go to a season of Toastmasters, that's it. If you got what you needed out of that, great, but there's still follow-up training. You might have to go to additional seminars. It's how much you want to invest in that. And that's the problem, okay? It's not mandated. So until it does, hey, that's why we created this. We're giving you that option, which will help you, and we're going to help you follow up with that training. Because I understand, look, it takes a unique situation for most people to say, yeah, let me go sign up because I'm tired of getting my tail handed to me, right? Mm-hmm. So then that's when you get the guys. But then, like you said, Anthony, they come in, well, I don't want to get hurt. They got all these conditions. Something happened that brought them there. But then all of a sudden they got all these conditions. Why? Because they were never into that. You got to keep this in mind. People who grapple, we're weirdos. I say this all the time. Look, you're going to go wrestle with your own people.
I say it all the time. We're a different breed. I say it to people all day. You explain judo to some people. Yeah. So I throw a guy as hard as I can with control, and then I get up, and then he throws me as hard as he can with control, and we continue that. And it's like, it just sounds like nuts you talk to people.
No, seriously. If you're a normal person, what sane person going to go do that when I can just go to the beach, get on some water, surf, have a good, why would I want to do that? Right. Mm-hmm. So if people who don't even do this job are like, are you nuts? I'm not going to go do that. If the person in a workforce where you think it would benefit them, they don't have to do it, they're not going to do it. They'd rather go golf. They'd rather go shoot hoops. They'd rather go on a date with their wife, girlfriend, whatever. They're not going to go say, man, yeah, I'm going to go here, get my arm cranked on, get thrown, possibly get choked out. That's not attractive or appealing. And I think a lot of people don't look at it that way, and you have to. And that's the approach we came with, because look at what you're trying to sell. We're all judoka. It's a hard sell. Let's be honest, and you got to think, if my job doesn't say, hey, you, Officer Juan, you need to go and train a minimum of 4 hours a week. I'm not doing that. Yeah, no, go roll with Stinky Giga. Not going to happen. Okay. That's the reality. And we have to look at things for what it is, not what we want it to be. And I think, unfortunately, that's the Monday night quarterbacking with society. Well, they should be doing that. Yeah, that sounds great. And I agree with you. They should. But if it ain't mandatory, yeah, you go to a BJJ class or judo class and let's see how long you last. We know the attrition rate. Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right. So Taybren, I'm going to follow up with this because there's something that actually Juan mentioned earlier and Anthony sort of touched on it as well. Okay. So who's going to this and how is it presented to where people know about it to sign up? Well, we're going through training academies. That's what we want, because there's a lot of academies like the one we went to in Wyoming that the AP article was written about. It's a well-known academy. And it draws from all the surrounding states, and it's a well-established school. Now, it's a school that's been up and running to the point where all these other agencies on the outside and other surrounding states know about it. They know if there's a program there, it's going to be a good one. So yeah, let's send you. Okay. Now, are officers going to do the research to go try to sign up for schools? No. They're not. And if they are, well, they'll be chiefs eventually. So let's just start at the top. So we're trying to get people drawn in that way. I think later on it might be offered to just any patrolman who wants to go ahead and sign up. They're going to be able to. But for right now, that's our approach, because we can hit more states with fewer of these courses because the other states draw in. And we're getting it out in that way. Okay. But it kind of goes back to what Taybren was talking about. If we hit it from the top and we give them the micro training that they have to follow up on, there's a follow up now. Now, these officers that maybe later on they'll sign up on their own, they're going to think maybe they can get away with not having to continue to train. So that's why we're trying to get at the top first and then sort of let it trickle down. And we'll see where it goes. We don't even know. It's early on, but we're wanting to start there.
Yeah, no, it's smart to start from the top and go down from there. Yes.
Yeah. So just to back up a bit, can you share more about the curriculum? I know you mentioned also to audience, you're saying it's not what you guys think it is. Like, we're not like doing Iponsenagi and throwing people and sending them into orbit and stuff. So how long does the training take, and what do you go over other than in terms of related to judo?
It's 30 hours. Okay. 30 hours a course. And sure, we're teaching you techniques, but a lot of it has to do with communication skills. So we're giving you communication skills. We're giving you skills to basically understand what's going on in your environment, environmental skills as well. And yes, we're giving you control techniques, and we're giving you safe ways of handling somebody and putting them into a cuffing position. Now, yeah, we can't go through everything with you right now, even though it's not a tremendous amount of stuff, but we've got your first approach. Okay. And then if it goes well from there and you're able to talk them into helping you get them into hand, great, it's over. There's also the next step that would occur if they're getting a little difficult, and then how to take them down to put them into a cuffing position. And if you need to, you can control them on the ground, rotate them over, and then cuff and then up. But there's a lot of little nuances in there, but there's basically just a couple of moves. You want to talk more on this, Taybren?
He covered it pretty much. It goes from the initial approach, which is controlling, like you said. With that one, you don't start off trying to take anyone down. If they let you cuff them, you cuff them. Now, depending on the level of resistance is what would urge you to take them down if needed. But also what's great about it, when they do resist, we give a way where you can still communicate first. We always advise that if you can. If it's a situation where like they're just giving up so much resistance, we have to take them down, then take them down. But part of the control is, hey, from the position, I can control them from the 2-on-1 right back into him standing up and cuffing him standing. Our whole goal, if we can cuff him standing, if not, hey, he goes to the ground. We have a couple of turnovers because, you're going to cuff him behind the back. No knee on the back stuff, only just pinning. And like I said, to not go into super details, there's a total of 12 techniques that we do based upon that. But the main thing is the communication. Okay. Even when you're taking him down, you're communicating with this guy. You're trying to get him to work with you. Okay. It's not just the whole, oh God, he did this, like you hear a lot. And the reason you hear that is because, look, I get it. Everybody's not going to have me and Mike's skill set. Mike been doing this for like 50 years. I've been doing it for 30. Okay. You cannot put that in a 30-hour course. We don't expect that. But if you come to this and you start practicing this, well, look, 5 years later, you'll be a whole lot better than you were before you came. 10 years later, same on. It just goes on and on. Ideally, excuse me, hopefully this course motivates you to say, I need to seek outside training. Maybe I need to go to my local judo club, right? Mm. And so then from there, it's like, now this is our other part of teaching judo clubs. You need to be more recreational, because the problem is a lot of guys come in and it's all competition. Well, that guy who's a professional officer, security guy, firefighter, he's not looking for that. Why are we giving him that? That's why he's being turned away, and judo's not a viable option, because he came in there looking for the self-defense part of judo. Now, here's the thing. Is your school providing that?
Are you talking to me?
I think the answer to most schools is no, but they would advertise it that way, right?
Exactly, right? And so now it's a community. It's a community effort now, okay? Because now we just answer the question of, oh, you guys say, well, why don't cops train judo? I just explained why. They come in, like you said, Juan, they say I'm going to be dumped on the head. Okay, I always say this. For some odd reason, people would rather box and do judo, right? When they look at boxing, for some weird reason, they see themselves as the one throwing the punches, not getting the punches landed, right? You see judo, for some odd reason, they always see themselves as the person being thrown, not the person doing the throwing. I don't understand the human psyche. If there's a smart doctor out there who can figure that out for me, please help me. But that's the consensus I've come to. Because when we actually demonstrated this for one agency, we actually did a regular judo demonstration, right? And come to find out, that almost killed it for us.
Really?
Yes. Judo is scary to people. See, you got to keep in mind, we're weirdos that enjoy this. Most people see judo. They don't see it how you and I see it.
Right.
They see themselves as the person being thrown. They're like, oh, no, I don't want no part of that. Yeah. And this is the problem with the judo community. They don't look at it that way. We got to start looking at it the way the customer looks at it, not the way the weird guy who's in the Dungeons and Dragons and judo looks at it, okay? Because we're like those type of people. We see it as this cool, awesome thing. And I've had a lot of communication with a lot of judoka, and it's like, dude, it's the reason BJJ is kicking our butt. It looks a lot more palatable to people, unfortunately. But judo can be palatable as well. We're just not presenting it in a palatable way. But most people do not like getting swept off their feet. It's like the whole ippon concept, instant defeat. I sweep you off your feet, it's over. It's embarrassing. It's demeaning. If you could avoid that, what are you going to do? You're going to avoid that. And we got to start looking at it like that.
I'm glad you guys told me about the curriculum and how its focuses more on communication. Because going in, when I was preparing for this interview, one of the things I was going to ask was, why would anyone go for judo instead of jiu-jitsu or wrestling? Because it's kind of well known amongst people who train that judo has a steep learning curve, because we've been practicing not to fall ever since we were like 2 years old, right? We're trying not to fall. Versus doing the other stuff, they tend to have a lower learning curve. You can get something out of it right away. But when you talk about the de-escalation and the communication, that actually makes a lot of sense. So,
well, okay, check this out, Anthony. Let me say this one thing about the learning curve.
Okay,
and I always rebuke that. Pretty judo has a high learning curve. Yes. Ugly Wazari judo, which is very effective and you can use immediately, does not. And the problem is everyone wants to teach pretty ippon judo, right? Whereas, no, you could teach ugly Wazari judo just as effective. Not as refined, but it's effective, which means, okay, I can use this in a realistic situation. We just got to stop thinking we're trying to build Olympians. That's our problem with judo. And because of that, we don't teach the self-defense part of it, which is the not so pretty side, but it's effective, And if you think with ippon judo, there's a lot of bad habits when you translate to jiu-jitsu or wrestling where it continues on the ground and match doesn't stop when you end. So I always say, look, judo has the same benefits as BJJ or wrestling if taught by the right person. The problem is you're going with some guy who thinks he's going to make the next Olympian, and that's the problem.
Okay, the problem with why not wrestling, it's a lot harder to teach. Much harder. Okay, in a third of the time you can teach some judo. You really could. Yeah, because wrestling's just got too many moving parts to it continually. And you can't just teach that in a 30-hour course. No way. But you can teach some basic approach skills of judo.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Yeah, I think when I say wrestling, because a lot of what I'm saying is actually what a lot of BJJ people echo is saying. Why would you go learn judo? Just if you want to learn takedown, learn wrestling, because they all do the single and double like grab. Those were main takedowns, because you
can
can learn a single and double like really fast.
Yeah. Can I answer that though? So here's something, and this is where, because I do all three, where they're totally wrong. All right. Well, if a cop gets out of the car, does he just shoot a double or single, or does he just end up in the guard? They're forgetting so much of it. And this is where judo really comes in apart. We do a lot of top standard control. The other two arts don't. Wrestling, my first art, you squat into a changed level position so you can shoot in. Well, can you imagine you just get to a call? We've seen that. That's the guy on 6 o'clock news. It's not
That's
what you want to
escalating
do.
it, right? Yeah.
Right? Exactly. You can't. So when you ask these, that's why I like to break it down so people can think about what you're saying. You know, like when we're developing a curriculum, I used to tell Mike, stop thinking like a wrestler. You can't do that. You got to be communicating with this guy standing straight up like you do in a judo stance. Okay? Because you're going to go put your hands on his, which is called our 2-to-1. People forget about the approach in law enforcement. They just think right into the competition when they think BJJ and wrestling. And that's what we're doing differently. If you look at a lot of the stuff, it's all from a competition approach. You don't approach people like that. That's not how you know, if there's a lost old lady, go ahead.
Like you're shooting, if you're coming from a wrestling standpoint already, you're already like coming in aggressively. So if I'm going to show you aggression, immediately you're going to reflect that back at me. I'm just escalating the situation. Where in judo, like I said, in judo, I'm standing up straight, you know, I may have my hands out ready to grab something, but it's more calming to be standing up straight with my hands out than shooting down, then crush down in my double position already.
Just to clarify, I don't have an opinion on that. I'm just
Anthony's lying.
I'm just echoing what people online are saying. Like in most online communities, that is what their thought is, and what you're saying totally makes sense. And I hope more people think.
And I know they do, and that's why I'm answering that, because a lot of people have this idea, but they're not putting the whole pie together. They're chopping away pieces. They're always thinking worst case scenario is what I've learned. When you talk these things, people go to the worst case. Well, let me tell you, you don't just end up in someone's guard. You don't just end up on top of someone. There's something that happened prior to. It's like we always say, fights end up on the ground, but they start standing. Okay, so if they start standing, communication, did you try that? You know, it's so much more before you ended up in a worst case scenario. So if we can help out in that, and from where it starts, don't you think that's a lot better?
I totally agree.
Now I have a question about how you guys, when you guys do teach this, are they wearing judo gis, sweatsuits, or are they in their police uniforms? So it's like you work out in what you're going to actually be doing stuff in.
All of the above, actually.
All of it? Oh, okay.
No. We don't teach them the main thing in the gis, and they're not in their police uniform. They're in regular workout gear, but with the micro training, they can do that. That's designed to do in full duty uniform. So he's right about the all of the above, but it's not taught like that, but it's made like that because it is essential. It's not about, I know the whole thing. Oh, they got to train as they fight. All that sounds nice. Okay. So somebody gets hurt. And like I said, now you got an injured person and they're off. Okay. We have to do manageable uchikomis, which are muscle memory drills, right? There is no, you're going to train 100%. Keep in mind, this is your coworker. Okay. You bust his nose, bust his finger toe, and he's out for 6 months with a broken pinky. There's a problem. Okay. Because what's going to happen, upper management say, that's out, too many broken pinkies. We can't have this. You got to think about all this stuff. This is the reality that people don't think about. They just talk and say, well, they should do this. All that sounds nice. It does. Okay. But in the training, they're in comfortable clothes so they can learn. All right. You have to make your learning environment.
Are there mats?
Of course it's mats. We don't do it on the concrete.
No, it is hardcore training. They're doing on top police cars, actually. They're not on the
hood. We're doing like the Dukes of Hazzard.
I don't know what the exact curriculum, so that's why I was asking. So for departments, since you're saying you hope it reaches some of the other police officers, for people who are interested in bringing this into their training, what kind of requirements do they need to be able to start incorporating this program or bring you guys along? Do they need to get their own mats? Do they need what's the cost associated, whether it's like financial costs or other costs?
All right. So that's why we we want to approach and go to the main places where they train, because they're going to have all this stuff. They're going to have a gym space. They're going to have mats. They might even have crash pads. They will have a dormitory for visiting participants. They might even have a cafeteria. And now you don't have to leave. You don't have to go anywhere. And that's the way it was in Wyoming for us. We were on a campus and it was snowing outside, but we're inside all comfy and we're getting on the mats and no problem. And it was a great environment. So we're looking for self-contained places like that. There's another place we're looking at in actually Carolina right now. And it's the same sort of deal where everything's self-contained. So we're looking for that. Now, could this be taught anywhere? Yeah, pretty much it could, because there are some municipalities and departments that don't even have a gym in their location, but there might be one around the corner. There might be a rec center they like to use for training. It might even be the local high school wrestling room. That happens, and that's fine. That's all we need. But like I said, we want to go through the department heads first and get the agencies and municipalities to approach us that way. And then we teach them. And like I said, later on, we'll probably open it up to any individual officer who decides they just want to continue training. But another part of this P3 program is that by doing it through USA Judo, each participant gets a 2-year membership to USA Judo, and then they can go to any community dojo that's USA affiliated and get some more mat time in, or get their kids and their wife to join and, do something else and start really training on their own. And hopefully they will do that. And that's one other thing that we brought into this dance, is we're giving them the ability to go and train at other locations.
That's great. That sounds very nice. Is there anything else you guys would like to talk about the program at all? Anthony, do you have any more questions?
I do have more.
You wrote down some more questions?
Yeah. While we were talking, a lot of stuff came up. So what are your plans next to grow this program? Is it just to go to more academies? It's spreading the word, the marketing part of it, or are you expanding the program? Do you want to bring in more people?
Okay, so it's going to expand, and it's going to get to the point where Taybren and I are just going to make sure that the people that we've blessed to instruct and go out there and help us with this are continuing their high level of education with these people. So we're going to be managing it. We'll pop in and, make sure that things are going great. But no, we've already got a number of people that we're grooming and people that are part of this task force already that are very capable in helping us to go forward and spread the word. So we're not worried about scaling up. Of course, we don't want to do it too fast because we want to maintain the control. We don't want it watered down at all. And we have to, keep our high level. So we're not too worried about that. And is it getting out there? Yes. I mean, we're getting actually a lot of inquiries about it right now. And usually that'll turn into a time and a date. And next thing you know, we can, give them a little seminar or class or a course. So it's going just fine. We don't have any issues right now, and I'm not too worried about not being able to cover it. In fact, I know Taybren's got 3 guys he's grooming right now. We have others that we're working into the mix, and we're going to be fine. It's going to get out there. But we want to keep doing it, like I said, spreading it at the highest level so that we can just get the department heads to want this to happen for themselves.
So are you guys grooming judo instructors, or are you grooming police officers?
So they're officers. Everyone's officers, because there's a lot that goes into it. So we've let's say we've tried with certain civilians, but this is mainly for officers by officers, which keeps it professional. Most of the guys are going to be certified from their own states in arrest control or defensive tactics, the ones that I've chosen. And so they already know how to teach a curriculum like this, which is very important. So another thing is, to answer your question about getting in contact, you can go on the USA Judo website. We have the information. Generally, if you want to host in your office or agency, it's a minimum of 20 people. Okay. They fill out a form. We'll get back to them. They have to pick the location, and we will send out the cadre out there and we'll host the course. So it's really simple. It's nothing really hard to do, but getting in contact with USA Judo. And like I said, it has to be an officer from that agency. They have to make sure they have the minimum of 20 people, officers, of course, and we host a course. And ideally, like Mike was saying, we want to do it at a lot of the law enforcement academies, but we know that's not possible all the time. But hey, that's what we're setting that standard, and that's the goal that we're setting with it. So like I said, you'll see more of it because we're marketing it a ton. And it's a great course, not just biased because, you know, we're part of it, but it's probably the best thing out there right now because it's a lot of years in development with this. It's more than just a 5. You're talking about years of our expertise that we put into this, and it's ever changing. You know, we live in a world of cameras. And I don't think people understand how important communication is, you know, the emotional intelligence. It has all of that. Emotional intelligence and I forgot the other one I was going to say. There's SQ and IQ. I forgot it. But yeah, it's a lot to it. And the main thing is getting guys confident in their skill set. And the only way to do that is with training and encouraging guys. And there's another element. We have the PAL element. Like one of our things is, if you come take this course, there's not a gym nearby you. We want you to start a PAL program because you can learn from teaching. Okay. Hey, become a certified USA Judo coach. That's going to make you a lot more confident and competent because you're teaching kids. Teaching kids is very valuable. You guys both know you coach kids. You learn a lot. But that's going to help you out when it comes to just dealing with people, your patience, you know, your empathy, all these things that you need. Remember, we're trying to make a better professional with this, okay? In any profession, you want to get better, you seek outside training. That makes you better in what you do. So you got to invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So any more questions, Anthony?
So I have 2 more questions.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, sorry I'm taking every time, but what is USA Judo's involvement in this? Like how have they supported you with this whole process, and what is their future role in this process? Like once this program's kickstarted, are they just going to provide that free membership you guys were talking about, or is there some other support that they're helping you guys with?
There's a ton of support. First off, definitely with marketing and having the ability to go through a site that's managed by the national governing body. I mean, there's a lot of credibility there, but they're also able to really help to do the registration, for instance. I mean, they're very helpful with that. Also the marketing aspect as well. There's a guy named Cecil who works with, actually at the Olympic Training Center, and he's part of all Olympic media, and he's very helpful. So we got a good guy there on the inside to help spread the word, but also the ability to scour the membership to see who's involved with law enforcement, who's not, and who's willing to come forward and help us. So we were able to do that through our membership base, and the amount of people that we thought we would like to have involved with this. And then we kind of went through them as well and figured, okay, this one would help us a little more than this. And we put together a good group. We've just got a great group. And there are others that are interested that didn't have the time right now to come and help us. But as these training centers are opening up again, these law enforcement centers, because they were even closed down due to COVID. In fact, there's one back east that we're kind of waiting in line for right now. They like our program. They want to get it in there. But since the place just opened up again to start teaching, we got to wait in line now and then work our way in and then go have our course. And it's going to be that way across the country in many locations. So we're okay with that. We're fine. And as long as everything just falls in line on the calendar, we got it all covered. We're not going to double book ourselves because we have to maintain the quality. But USA is very much there with us, and they're backing us up. And they're pretty much willing to help us any way they can just to get the word out there for all the right reasons. The fact that it's judo type based program and the fact that we need it as a nation.
Okay.
Nice.
Do you have anything to add to that, Taybren?
You guys.
No, they're awesome.
He covered it all.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. So my last question might be a little more difficult question, but I've seen the AP article you guys talked about posted online, and there's a lot of people who are against this idea that think like cops should probably improve their training via other means and not teach them judo, because you guys kind of already answered that question saying it's not what you guys think it is, right? But
we don't really listen to
say to those people.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Taybren. I got plenty to say, but.
Well, here's the thing. I think after they see this interview, maybe they'll have more knowledge. Mm-hmm. Just reading an article, they didn't have a lot of knowledge. And so, we have assumptions. But learning is a great thing, period. Would you discourage anybody to go to higher education or just, let's say, take a cooking class or a gardening class? Training is key. And when people say, oh, that's bad to train, I mean, I don't see how training is bad. It's something that's going to enhance your skill set, give you a better quality of life, and just make you a better person from opening your mind and seeing things a different way. I don't see something like that being negative. So people who say things like that, it makes me question them. Like, how can learning or educating yourself be a terrible thing? Maybe they need to ask themselves that.
Okay. You have anything else to add to that, Mike?
Well, everyone has an opinion, right? And until you've had the experience in handling or grabbing somebody or having to take somebody into a situation where you need to cuff them, you don't really have a position. But if, just back to what Taybren was talking about, education here. Yeah, you want to go out. You want to expose yourself to different things. You want to look at different approaches. Even when, like back in the 80s when I went to Russia, I was thinking I just want to go for my combat skills on the mat. But no, I had to get involved in all these pedagogical aspects and studies and, physics. And you know what? I came out of there a more well-rounded person who can actually look at a technique and break it down mechanically now. Okay, I just wanted to learn the fast parts of it, but now I know why it works. And it's the same with this. We're giving you something else. We're giving you another tool in your toolbox to use, because it goes back to that old saying, if every problem is a nail and all you have is a hammer, what are you going to do? You're going to bash on everything. But if you have different skills and you have different approaches, it just makes you a better officer. It makes you someone who's more aware. And we want people that are aware. We don't want tunnel vision people pulling up on a call when you're in trouble and you need somebody to think outside the box to help you out of this problem. Mm-hmm. So, education's great. And this is another approach to it, another philosophy, and it's a very good one.
Yes. Yeah, I learned a lot from what you guys said today. I like how you talked about how it's talking first, giving a calm situation first. You're not coming off reaction like I'm coming off crazy, so then you're coming off crazy like we talked about before. Like mm-hmm. Talking and standing is the first part. And I think people, when they hear about judo, they immediately think, oh, we're just going to throw everybody. We're going to throw all our problems. That's like, no, we're not throwing all our problems. Okay. We're going to stand, we're going to be calm. And I like how this comes out about, putting more confidence into the officers that need it. So Anthony, you got anything else left?
Yeah, that's all I have, unless you guys have more.
Is there anything else you guys like to talk about your program? Anything left?
I think we wrapped it up. We've been on for a minute, so. All
right. Well, I want to thank both of you gentlemen for coming on here, talk about the USA Judo P3. If anybody would like to follow you guys on your own social medias or about your own judo dojos, could you give the information out? Taybren, can you go first?
Well, it'll be for USA Judo, or they can see some of the stuff on Hollywood Pal. That's only social media.
All right. And Mike, how about yourself?
Yeah, Pasadena Kodokan Judo. We got a website, or through my gym site, M3 Fight and Fitness. You can touch with me that way, or through USA Judo. It's the best way to do it.
All right, great. Thank you, gentlemen, again. It was a great talking to you. It was great having you on the show.
All right, very good.
Wow, what a great interview that was. Did you learn a lot of stuff?
I did learn a lot of stuff. And it went on longer than we expected. And I mean, after we had the interview, we actually kept talking after we stopped recording.
Yeah.
But, maybe we'll have them back on.
Some after hours talk, like backstage talk.
Yeah, we like some of the other podcasts out there will record that and then put it in like a Patreon, like subscription model kind of thing. But, yeah.
I don't know if we're that big yet. Maybe in the future. We're not there yet. But, I'm going to reflect on this because I said it a lot during the interview with them, but I'm very glad to see that's something that's not automatically attack the person. That's something about we're standing up straight. We're keeping calm in a situation, because I think that's what you hear the most in news interviews and police things that happen. Like, oh, the officer got nervous, the officer got scared, the officer didn't feel comfortable. And I think boosting confidence in the officer so they are calm, that they can think in a situation, a high tense situation, that anything that would help that is good in my opinion. And if there's something that's going to boost their confidence, learning these judo techniques and learning how to talk to the person, I think it's great. That's, in my opinion, I think that's great. And I hope it works. I hope this comes full throttle. They go ahead and it works out, and it just works out perfectly.
Yeah, I forgot to ask them. Like, I would be interested in, I'll even pay, like, sitting on these programs or like participate in it. I want to see what it's like, but maybe in the future, you know, we'll see.
Well, maybe they'll open up to the public maybe later.
Yeah.
All right. So do you have any more final thoughts on that interview at all?
No, it was a great interview. Like I said, we had so much to talk about, and we talked about maybe bringing on Keith Bryant in the future. USA Judo.
And some people don't know who that is. Yeah.
I almost said
USA. If you don't know
Sumo.
who that is, he is USA Sumo. He might work there too. I don't know. But he is the CEO of USA Judo. And when he got the job, I know some people were upset because he wasn't a judo player. It's this thing of like bringing an outsider in. But he was more of a businessman, was he? I'm not sure. What was he at?
I think he worked in with other Olympic committees. Forgot which sport.
Okay, but you know, he helped out other sports.
Yeah, look it up.
Now he's helping out our sports, so he's done a really good job so far. And let's just hope for the best in the future.
Yep. One thing I think from the interview, if you skip past some of the stuff that Taybren mentioned, just remember, like, they only have 6 people in the office working for USA Judo. So next time you have any complaints or anything and they don't get back to you right away, like, just keep that in mind.
Yeah. That's kind of funny thinking about that. 6 people running a big national organization. It's crazy. All right. So please, if you're out there, please like, share, and subscribe to our video on YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram on @Jerry_1. You can follow Anthony at Anthony Throws on Instagram. You can follow our page itself at Tatami Talk on Instagram. If you have any questions, think you want us to talk about things that you want to know about judo, or have any questions about judo, let us know. You can email us at tatamitalk@gmail.com. Anything else, Anthony?
No, I think we're good to go. Oh, one more shout out. We got an email from someone who congratulated us on our 1-year anniversary from our previous episode. It's Gerard.
Awesome.
From Ireland, listener from Ireland. So thank you, Gerard, for congratulating us.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening this whole time. I actually remember him sending an email to us in the very beginning. So yeah, happy that someone else is listening.
Hey, if you ever come to America, you ever find yourself in Los Angeles, come to Hollywood Judo. It'd be great to work out with you. All right. And that goes for any one of our subscribers or someone that watches us. You ever find yourselves in LA, in Hollywood, come to Hollywood Judo. All right. Peace out.
All right. See you guys.